Hey everybody, it is day 10 of our meteorology unit, and today you've been talking about the weather factors that we can determine using a Sling psychrometer. So with the Sling psychrometer, the instrument essentially has two thermometers. One is known as the dry bulb. The other thermometer has a cotton wick over it that you're going to dip into water. Then you take the whole instrument, you spin it over your head, and as you spin it, the thermal energy is going to transfer from the thermometer in the wet bulb to the water that's on the cloth. And then as you continue spinning it, the water is actually going to evaporate. And in that process, the evaporating water is going to take some of that thermal energy from the wet bulb and it's going to make the temperature of the wet bulb drop. Now, after you're done spinning your Sling psychrometer, you'll have two different readings from your dry bulb and your wet bulb. And based on the difference, when you subtract the higher dry bulb temperature, when you take away the temperature of the wet bulb from the dry bulb temperature, you should use that data and the tables in your ESRT to determine relative humidity and dew point. So you'll have plenty of practice with this table. What I did for this video is I took the same table with the same headings and I just changed the numbers around. So same data table, different numbers to show you how to do it. Let's do a couple of these problems together. We're going to start by looking at our first data set, which is a dry bulb temperature of 18 degrees Celsius and a wet bulb temperature of 10 degrees Celsius. So first I'm going to just do some real easy math. 18 minus 10 is going to give me the difference, and I would have 8. Actually, rather than doing my handwriting, I'm just going to type it into the table. Boop, boop. So 8 degrees of difference. Now we can go down to our ESRT tables, and here's how we're going to use it. So the first data point, the dry bulb, is 18 degrees. And remember, I want to make sure these tables look very similar. So I want to make sure I'm looking in the right one. I'm looking at relative humidity first. So the dry bulb was 18 degrees Celsius. And the difference in these two bulbs, we said, was 8 degrees. So I'm going to see where these two lines intersect, and that should give me the relative humidity in percentage. And these numbers are real close together, so I like to kind of take my time with it. And for this first one, I see that it is 33, and in parentheses I have my unit, so that would be percent relative humidity. That means that this air is holding 33% of the maximum amount of water vapor that it can. It's like a glass that's 33% full. Next up, we're going to do dew point, and we use the exact same process. So again, 18 degrees with a difference between the wet bulb and dry bulb of 8. So I'm going to drop it down here. I'll see where these two lines intersect, and the value I get is 2. The unit is degrees Celsius. So for this first one, the dew point was 2 degrees Celsius. Okay, the second set of data is exactly the same as the first one. They're going to give you the dry bulb and the wet bulb. Same with number 3, but there is a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to go over our third set of data next. So we have a dry bulb temperature of 5 degrees, a wet bulb temperature of 3 degrees. 5 minus 3, we have a difference of 2. Now let's find the relative humidity. I'm going to go make sure that you're looking in the right table. Relative humidity is here. Now here's why I wanted to show you this data, because when you look at the dry bulb temperature, you'll realize that it only gives you even numbers. There is no 5, but it does give you the results for 4 and 6. And the number 5 is in between 4 and 6. So I know that my value is going to be in between these two numbers, and I still have a temperature difference of 2. So I'm going to drop it down here and look at the result that I get. I am in between the value of 70 and 72. Because if it was 4 degrees, it would be 70. If it was 6 degrees, it would be 72. So what would it be if it was 5 degrees? Well, it would be in between 70 and 72, which is 71%. I'm going to do the same thing again for the dew point. So I'm going to go in between the 4 and the 6. I still have a difference of 2, so I'll drop it down here. I see that the dew point is in between 1 and -1, and what temperature is in between 1 and -1? Well, that would be 0 degrees Celsius. All right, let's take a look at a couple more. So these next couple might look a little bit tricky, but you're just going to fill in the information that's missing based on what's given to you. So for this next one, I have a dry bulb temperature of 28 degrees. It doesn't give me the wet bulb temperature, but it does give me the difference between the wet bulb and the dry bulb. Now, if you wanted to, you could just find out the relative humidity and the dew point just based on this data, right? We have 28 degrees, the difference is 1, so the relative humidity would be 93 degrees. And for dew point, 28 degrees, difference is 1, so it would be 27 degrees Celsius. But don't forget about what your dry bulb temperature is. So if the difference between the wet bulb and the dry bulb is 1, and my dry bulb was 28, well, the wet bulb is just 1 degree away from it. Just remember that the wet bulb is always going to be cooler than the dry bulb. So that way we had 27. Same process again, but here it's going to be giving you the difference between the wet bulb and dry bulb, and it gives you the wet bulb here. So think of it this way. Here's my missing value, the dry bulb. The difference here is 4, but it gives me the wet bulb, which is the cooler temperature. So I'm going to go up 4. So I have 18, 19, 20, 21 degrees for my dry bulb. Let's finish this up, right? 21 degrees and 17, the difference is 4. So I know that 21 degrees is going to be in between 20 and 22. What was my difference in dry bulb temperature? Again, it was 4. Just wanted to double check. So I'm going to drop down here. That white and the gray, it's in between 66 and 68. So the relative humidity would be 67%. Let me put that up in my data table. 67%, meaning it's holding 67% of the total amount of water it can hold at that temperature. And let's take a look at the dew point. So I'm in between 20 and 22 to get a temperature of 21. I'll drop it down because there's 4 degrees of difference. And I am in between 14 and 16, meaning my dew point here was 15 degrees Celsius. 15 degrees Celsius. All right. Hopefully showing you with this data made it helpful for you. Remember to look in the same table. And good luck. Thanks for watching. Bye.